I want to do a little recap on this. So if you're not familiar with the story, that's okay, because I'm actually going to go through a bit of a timeline right now. But for everyone that is following this story, the reason I kind of been getting into it is because Ruby Franke's divorce has been finalized. So I'll do a little bit about that first, and then I want to get into a recap and see if this is actually legit. So Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt are both currently serving up to 30 years in prison. And I say up to because there's some weird law in Utah that basically they took a plea deal to their counts of child abuse. And because of the plea deal, the way it works out, because of how they were running their charges or their counts, we'll say, they got from 1 year to 15 years per, no, hold on. Is that right? Yes, 1 year to 15 years per charge. But there's some stipulation in Utah that if you took the charges and the sentences the way they did in their plea deal, that they couldn't serve more than 30 years. So they are for sure going to be in there for 4 years, depending on the parole board, but they could stay in up to 30 years. And again, it depends on the parole board. And they're going in front of the parole board next December of 2026. So that's when we're going to know. So the whole thing's really odd. But anyway, she is now, oh, thank you, Gary. Oh, that was a pretty one. That was like springish, guys. I like it. So she has finalized her divorce from Kevin Franke, her husband, or Kevin has finalized the divorce finally. He did not file for divorce from his wife until, I think it was November, maybe. Like, it was like 3 months after he found out what they had done to his children that he finally filed for divorce. Like, it was sad how long it took him, but he claims he was brainwashed basically from the two of them. So we'll see. So here, let's get into it. So first of all, it's been more than a year since this happened, and they're serving, like I said, up to 30 years in prison. Jodi Hildebrandt was like her partner, business partner, life partner, whatever we want to call her. We're not really sure exactly what the relationship was, but they were running a podcast slash YouTube channel together. They called it, there was Moms of Truth, I think at one point, but it was basically Jodi's company called Connections. And Ruby Franke joined on and became like a spokesperson and a teacher for it and things like that. So they were kind of in cahoots, and Ruby was always kind of a nasty, I don't know how best to describe her. According to Sherry Franke's book, her daughter, her oldest daughter's book, she was never a great mom. She always wanted to be a mom, and wanted to be the best mom, but she just didn't come across like that. Like, she was, in my opinion, abusive from the very beginning. So I'm just going to call her a terrible mom. I think she was already a terrible mom, but meeting Jodi Hildebrandt just exaggerated her beliefs, and Jodi's beliefs joined in, and the things they did to those children were horrendous. So we're going to do a bit of a timeline tonight, but basically what's happened right now is her divorce has become finalized. And I'm going to tell you in this article what she got in the divorce, what the settlement arrangements were in this. So the judge was Roger Griffin, and it says he signed the couple's divorce decree March 20th, granting Kevin sole custody of the couple's, 4 young children, because 2 of them are of age now. They're also parents to Sherry, 21, Chad, 20. So they are both living on their own. I do have an update on Chad I'll give you guys as well tonight. Ruby, meanwhile, has been ordered to have no contact with the children at all. And it was an order from the 4th District Juvenile Court. So she's been told you're not allowed to have contact with your children. Thank goodness for that. Now, Chad and Sherry have both said that they're not in contact with her either. Sherry says she'll never speak to her mother again after what she did to her family. Chad isn't sure. Chad says for now he's got no interest in a relationship, but he does miss his mom. He loves his mom, of course, because she's his mom. But he's not sure what the future is going to hold for that. Now, while typically child support is paid in full custody agreements, Kevin agreed to consider any child support payments owed to him by Ruby Franke already paid. So what that means is Ruby has 0 custody. So technically she would have to pay Kevin Franke for having the kids, like for care of the children. he was like, I want nothing from her. I'm going to consider it all paid. So there's no child support payments, and she's in jail anyway, prison. Kevin will also retain ownership of the couple's home in Springville, Utah. So the family home is now Kevin's, along with the 2.8-acre property in Schofield, Carbon County. If you remember watching their show when they purchased that land, Kevin gets that land as well. Ruby, however, Ruby gets to keep the $85,000 that I feel she stole from her children's bank accounts. Oh, there's Perry. Oh, hi, kitty. That's Perry, guys. Apparently he wanted to come in and say hi. So when Ruby Franke, we might get this in the timeline as we're going through, but basically Ruby Franke, when she went to live with Jody Hildebrandt at Jody's home in Utah, she took her 2 youngest children and left her 2 middle children at her family home, like to fend for themselves. She ended up cleaning out their bank accounts, including the children's savings. And it was $85,000. Now, the police ended up finding that money in Jody Hildebrandt's home, and they confiscated it. And Kevin, when he was doing his testimony in the police station, asked about the money, and they told him, yes, we found that money. So they did locate that money, and she did have it at Jody's home. So she gets to keep the $85,000 that she withdrew from her accounts after the initial separation that they had. But all other financial assets in her name will be reallocated to Kevin. So everything else is Kevin's. Neither party requested any additional alimony. So they were like, that's it. We're done. And though the couple has been living apart since September of 2022, Kevin filed for divorce. Here it is, guys, in December, excuse me, of 2023, 3 months after she was arrested. So if you haven't followed this story, these two had these weird beliefs. Jody basically told Kevin that he had to leave the family home if he wanted to make his relationship with his wife work. And he did. So he left his family, wasn't allowed to contact or have anything to do with them for over a year. He just pieced out, says he has no idea what was happening in his children's lives. And then until Ruby was arrested and she ended up calling Kevin. That's the first time he heard about what was going on with his children, according to him. So he finally filed. This was in August that happened. He didn't file for divorce until December. Ruby and Jody pled guilty to child abuse charges last year after the 43-year-old's 2 youngest children were found emaciated and abused in their care. Utah State Prosecutor Eric Clark claimed that the women had committed horrible acts of child abuse. So if you're just joining, guys, I wanted to read through a timeline that I came across just to see how accurate it is. But this is one of the pictures. It's from E! And it was just updating about the divorce, but I wanted to see how good the timeline was. So we're going through it tonight. All right. In February, Kevin, who married Ruby in 2000, they've been married for 24 years, I guess we'll say, said that they were close to reaching a divorce settlement and that he had cut off all contact with Ruby. He's also in the new docuseries that's out, has said that he actually told Ruby's officers at the prison that he didn't want her writing him anymore. She had been writing him letters and he wasn't opening them. And then he just asked that she stop completely. So apparently they haven't had contact. He says, oh, it's in here too. He says, the last letter that I received from her from prison was maybe in March or April of last year. And then I requested the Department of Corrections to ask her to stop writing me. Kevin admitted he was still very angry with his wife. He says, I didn't want to hear anymore. I didn't like what she was saying. It just didn't feel right and it didn't feel good. And he has still not said what that is that made him not feel right. But whatever it was, he's not sharing it. And it was in her letters. So probably defending herself would be my guess. So now we're going to go through the timeline that E! has got here. Yeah, I agree, guys. I agree. All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. Cat dog. There it is. Oh, that was cute. I wanted to see what the little bumblebee was. Thanks, cat dog. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay. So we're starting August 30th, 2023. This is actually the day I became involved in this case as well. Gary, thank you. Sorry, I haven't seen any of these gifts, you guys. It's been so long. So August 30th is the day that I got involved. I had not watched Ruby Franke. I didn't know who she was until you guys actually reached out to me and asked me to cover this case. And then I became basically obsessed. I had to read everything, watch everything, dig into everything. And now I probably consider myself an expert in all things Ruby Franke and 8 Passengers. But I didn't know anything about this until her arrest. So it was August 30th, 2023. Almost 2 years, guys. How crazy is that? A year and a half ago. The Utah police received a phone call, and it was a phone call about a starved child being found, and they shared it in a press release. So if you remember, it was, I'm not going to say the minor children's names, just so you guys are aware, just out of respect for the kids' privacies. But basically the youngest son, we'll just call him R, he escaped Jodi Hildebrand's home, ran to a neighbor's, and rang the doorbell asking for a favor. He asked for him to be taken to the police station, for the police to be called, and for some food and water. He was basically starving. So the neighbor called 911. If you have not heard that, I have a file on my page called Ruby Franke. You can click on that and it's got all the videos. The 911 call is there that you can hear this poor man. But that's how they ended up finding out about the children, was because of R. Like, thank goodness for him escaping. I honestly don't think those children would be here if he hadn't have escaped and saved his sister as well. So they said that he appeared emaciated and malnourished with open wounds and duct tape around his extremities. And he was taken to the hospital in severe condition. That was the hospital's term for it. There are pictures that circulated about it. I did not share them. It was too awful. I shared a picture, I think, of the duct tape, but I didn't show his wounds or anything. But he had extreme wounds because of the handcuffs and the rope and the duct tape they were using to tie him up. And they had tried to use this cayenne pepper and honey paste, apparently putting that on his open wounds as some sort of homeo remedy. I don't know what they were doing, but it was horrendous. He was later identified as Ruby's son. He was 12 years old. And he had been at the home of Ruby's business partner, Jodi Hildebrand's, and had climbed out of a window before going to a neighbor's house to ask for help. Police then searched a nearby home where another child was found in a similar condition of malnourishment and was also hospitalized. And authorities later explained that they discovered Ruby's 9-year-old daughter petrified while sitting by herself in an empty closet in Jodi's house. And this is all according to the Washington County Attorney's Office. Now, we have also seen, there's Ruby and Jodi. We've also seen the video footage of that. That's on my in my playlist of Ruby Franke as well. It was, I'm just going to call her E. She was 9 years old. She was being held at this point in an empty closet off of a bathroom. And the police found her. She wouldn't talk to them. She wouldn't get up. She was just petrified. So they ended up getting her some pizza. She ate the whole thing while a police officer sat there and chatted with her. I think it took them like 2 hours to coax her out of the closet. Like she was not in good shape. She did not have the same wounds around her ankles and wrists as R did, but she was just as malnourished and basically emaciated, and her hair was basically shaved off thanks to this horrible mother. And we'll get to that in a little bit as well. All right, so this is all August 30th. Also on August 30th, they make the arrest. So Ruby was arrested for aggravated child abuse, along with Jodi, who in 2007 established a life coaching service called Connections. And it was basically like a cult, I guess we'll say this was. And the basic principles of it were from the Mormon Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So Ruby, when she gets arrested, these are some good pictures. That's why I'm going to show you guys these. Hi, Marta. Thanks, darling. Ruby gets arrested at Jodi's home. So Ruby isn't home when this happens. Jodi is. They go to search the house and they haul Jodi out, and she's freaking out, calling her lawyer, saying that they can't search the home, which of course they can. And they find the daughter. Ruby does come back to the house. She called Kevin, though, before she got back to the house and told Kevin, something's happened. You need to go to the police station and get our children. So he did try. Ruby comes back and she's mute. She refuses to talk to anyone. She refuses to say anything. She is doing what they say, but will not say anything except I'm waiting for my lawyer. And even when she gets to the police interrogation room, same thing. She's refusing to talk to anyone and just saying, waiting for her lawyer. It is such an awkward interview. If you haven't seen it, again, it's on my page in my folder. All right. The next day, I'll add to that as well. When they searched the home, they found tons of evidence. They found the ropes, the handcuffs, the paste they were putting on the kids' wounds. They found I want to call it a safe room, a locked safe room. It had like a legit combination door on it. They found tons of stuff in there too, like the ropes and gauze, like bloodied gauze, like you name it, it was in there. Bonnie, thank you so much. Thank you, Bonnie. We're going for the live goal, guys. So August 31st, Ruby's daughter speaks out. So this is the first time we hear from Sherry about the situation. And Sherry, the day Ruby was arrested, did post and said, finally. And it was a picture of her family home and it was being raided by the police. We'll get into that in a sec as well. I just want to see if it's included in here first. Excuse me. So on August 31st, Sherry, who's 21, reacted to the news on her Instagram story. She said, "Me and my family are so glad justice is being served. We've been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this, and so glad they finally decided to step up. Kids are safe, but there's a long road ahead." Now, this is a picture of Ruby's sister, Bonnie. And how do you say her last name, guys? Holian? I'm just going to say it like that. I can never say her last name properly, but this is Bonnie and a couple of her children. Now, August 31st is also the day that the sisters react for the first time. So Ruby has 3 sisters and a brother. She has Bonnie, Julie, and Ellie, and then her brother, Bo. So the 3 sisters were very big vloggers as well, family vloggers. Bonnie still is. The other sisters, Ellie hasn't really vlogged much. I did see a vlog from Julie the other day, and she was actually visiting Bonnie in Florida. So she may be back vlogging as well. But basically, Ruby's sisters react to the arrest, and this is what they said. So this was a joint statement that Ellie, Bonnie, and Julie all posted to their Instagram account. And it said, "For the last 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything to try and make sure the kids were safe." Everything though, guys, really? Did you? "We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it any further." And it says the siblings said Ruby's kids are now safe, which is the #1 priority. On September 6th, charges are filed. So the former 8 Passengers YouTuber and her business partner, Jody, were each formally charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse by the Washington County Attorney in Utah. So this timeline is okay, but it's missing a lot. So I'm going to take a little break from the timeline and fill you in a little bit. So when Ruby was arrested, they found the 2 youngest Franke children, but they did not find the 2 middle girls. So they immediately were worried that the 2 middle girls were, in harm's way, either in that safe that was in Jody Hildebrand's home or even back in Irvine at Ruby Franke's family home. So they had to get into the safe, which they did, guys, by actually putting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the code, and it worked because Jody was saying she didn't know what the code was. Anyway, they got in. Nobody was in there. So the police in Irvine raid Ruby Franke's family home. They break the door down, so the door is busted, and they go in guns blazing, or raised. They weren't shooting, obviously. And they searched the family home. The girls were not there, but they soon found out, and I believe they found out from neighbors and perhaps Sherry Franke, their oldest sister, where the girls were. They were working. So both girls were working. They ended up going to try and get the girls at work. And once they arrived, they found out that both girls had been picked up by the same woman who is the president of this cult leader's connections website. She was the president. Her name was Pam Bodger. And Pam Bodger is quite a character. I'll just say that. The police immediately go to Pam Bodger's home. They say, we're looking for Ruby Franke's children. They bring her out of the home. They put her in the back of the police car. They were going to detain her. And she's like, what's going on? And she tries to, in my opinion, lie about the situation at first, saying that Ruby let her have the girls to help her clean her home because she's got guests coming. Then it comes out that Ruby Franke had called her saying there was a family emergency, which I believe Ruby probably said, I'm being arrested. But this is Pam Bodger's story. And asked her to go get the girls. So she did. So she had both girls in her home. They were fine, except for the fact that if you ever watched 8 Passengers, you would probably know from watching that those girls seem to be the 2 most brainwashed of all 6 children, in my opinion. I felt like they walked on eggshells around Ruby because they didn't want to be mistreated, would be my guess. But I feel like they did anything and everything their mother said and believed everything and anything their mother said, as well as Jody Hildebrandt. She was like their family counselor. So both girls were extremely brainwashed, and they were given the choice to go into foster care or group home while they awaited the custody issues, or go with their oldest sister, Sherry. Now, Sherry had basically been kicked out of the family for the last year and hadn't seen her sisters or her siblings. So they did choose to go with Sherry, which I think made everyone feel better knowing that Sherry had her sisters, but they ended up not staying there long. Unfortunately, thanks to a police officer that was involved in the situation, we found out that the 2 girls had gone to Sherry's home, but not for long. They were acting up. They didn't want to be with Sherry. They were giving her a hard time. They were hiding her car keys. They had tried to run away a couple times. So Sherry had to contact the police and Child Protective Services. And they ended up coming up with the decision that the girls would have to be placed in foster care for everyone's own safety. And Sherry was only 20 years old. Like, it should not have been put on Sherry anyway. So that's what ended up happening with the girls. But in the meantime, Sherry and I believe someone from Child Protective Services was there. It was not in Sherry's book. I believe Sherry talked about going in herself, but I thought a member of Child Protective Services was with her at that time, but I'm not 100%. But there was a police officer with her who let her in the home. So she goes to the home and she wants to get belongings for the kids because they had nothing. So she wants to get them their clothes and things, and she wants to get her items out of the home. So some of the things that she took at that time were videotapes and passports and laptops or iPads, things like that. And a lot of the videotapes were her journals, as well as handwritten journals. She took it all. Kevin did not like this. And let me just see if this might be coming up. No, I don't think they have it in the timeline. So I'm going to have to go through it with you guys because I think it's important. Yeah, no, I don't see it in this timeline. So Kevin at this point has gone to the police station, tried to get his kids. They were like, you're not getting custody. We don't know who you are. You haven't been in the home for a year. It's going to have to go to child custody hearing, right? So he's not allowed to have his kids. He moves back into the family home. We see him on camera moving back in. At this point, we don't really know what he's thinking. I personally think he was still brainwashed by Ruby. I think he wanted his wife back. He was saying he still loved her. I don't think he understood exactly what his kids had gone through at this point, but he moves back into the family home. The door is busted because of the police having raided the home. So he contacts the Utah police and says, Sherry Franke broke into his home, his daughter, his 20-year-old daughter, that Sherry broke into his family home and stole a bunch of stuff, including the journals, the videotapes, the passports. So the police have no choice but to contact Sherry, and they're like, did you take this stuff? And Sherry's like, I did. And they told her, you can't take that stuff. Like, we have to return it. So Sherry agrees to bring it back to the police station. She does. Kevin Franke is on tape, on body cam footage from the police officer that I spoke with, saying that he still wants his daughter charged with burglary and theft. And they were like, we're not charging her. And he's like, what do you mean? Why not? Like it was not a good situation. So they meet him. They give the items back that Sherry had taken, and he goes home. So at this point, the 2 youngest children were in hospital, and the 2 middle girls had briefly been with Sherry and then were also in child protective custody. So September 6th, charges are filed. So it says the former 8 passengers, YouTuber and a business partner, formally charged, and they were charged with, let me get this right. They were charged with 6 counts. Hold on, I've got to remember if it's 6 counts or was it, one of the counts was dropped. I don't know if it's going to list it in here or not, but they did a plea deal and they agreed to, I believe it was 4 counts and 6 counts, guilty 4. Thank you. So they were charged with 6 counts. They pled guilty to 4 counts. Now, the reason they were charged with 6 counts is it's 1 count per child. So they were charged with 3 for each child. And then they dropped 1 charge. So then it goes down to 4 counts. So 2 per child. So let's get into this. Sherry's 21 now, Michael. So September 6th, Kevin Franke breaks his silence. So Ruby's husband, Kevin, came forward to deny involvement in her alleged crimes. His lawyer, Randy Kester, was like his spokesperson. Randy Kester was everywhere. He was doing interviews. He was in magazines. He was on TV. Like, he was trying to clear Kevin's name and make him sound better. So Randy Kester, at this point, for the first time, goes on Good Morning America, says that Kevin was living apart for 13 months before the arrest. And he says, he's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy. And no one has ever made any allegations that he's physically abused those kids or anyone. So here is Kevin with his wife, Ruby. Now, Randy Kester at this point comes out numerous times and gives little bits about where Kevin has been during this time. We also had no idea where Chad Franke was at this time. We ended up finding out Chad was their oldest son. We end up finding out that Chad was also kicked out of the home by Jody and Ruby when Kevin was kicked out. And Kevin and Chad initially got an apartment together. And then Jody calls or Ruby calls or whoever and says, no, you have to be separate. In order for this to work and the marriage to, be worked out and you guys to get out of distortion and into truth, you both need to live separately. So Chad, who was 17 years old, ended up moving out, getting an apartment by himself with friends. And he ended up having to bike to work and to school. And it was not something a 17-year-old should have to go through at all. Now, at this point, according to Sherry's book, Sherry finds out that Chad has moved out and she's excited. She thinks, oh my gosh, I can reconnect with my brother. So she finds out where Chad lives, goes to his apartment. Chad opens the door and is completely brainwashed. He's like, you can't be here. She tries to talk with him. He won't have anything of it. She leaves. He calls his mom and tells her that Sherry was just here. So then the mom and Sherry get into it. It was bad. Sherry also tried to reach out to Kevin Franke at this point to try and make amends. And Kevin wouldn't return her phone calls. And she saw him at BYU, at university where he worked, and he ignored her and walked right past her. They would have nothing to do with their family at this point. So this had all gone down while Kevin was kicked out in that 13 months. Okay, back to the timeline. November 29th, 2023, Kevin files for divorce. Kevin officially filed for divorce from the Utah influencer, according to a domestic relations injunction obtained by NBC News. Now, this is November, you guys. He found out what Ruby Franke had done to his children in August. And it took him that long to clear his head, get himself straight, I guess we'll say, and file for divorce. Now, some of the jailhouse phone calls were released. One of them was between Ruby and Kevin, where it sounds like Kevin is still in love with her and thinks that she may have done the right thing thinking that the children were possessed by the devil and demons and everything else. And Chad Franke admits in the documentary that he believed this as well. It was just a bad situation. So at this point, because Kevin didn't have custody of the children, they're having to go to court and have child custody meetings. So the first one, we see Sherry Franke arrive by herself with, I believe, her lawyer. And we don't see Chad there or anything. And she goes in and they have this child custody hearing, which was open. Reporters were allowed to be there. They decided to close it to the public so that the kids would be protected. But we find out before that happens that she appears in a Zoom meeting from prison and tells this whole BS story about her youngest son, R, and that he was basically molesting, assaulting, whatever you want to call it, other children, including his little sister. And then tried to say that the little sister was doing it as well. And she accused at this time him of doing it to neighbors and cousins. And we all knew right away that this was absolute bullshit because the two youngest children had been basically secluded. They had been alienated from everyone. They had not been playing with neighbors. They had not seen their cousins in months. Their cousins were basically ostracized. So we knew this was absolute BS, but she was doing this to punish them still. So at this point, we knew that R was separated from E when they went to the group home. I don't know how long it stayed like that, but they were separated until the judge could look into these accusations. And I'm hoping the judge immediately knew that that was absolute bull and reunited them. But we're not sure. Like that was not released and we will never know because it's private. It's the children's information. And unless they want to share their story when they're 18, I don't think we'll ever know because their family is not sharing details of that. But this is what ended up happening. Kevin apparently does now have custody. We don't know when exactly he got custody, but his lawyer, Randy Kester, last year suggested that he thought it would be September of 2024 when Kevin would get custody back. We do know that they were having visitations and things. We know that they spent Thanksgiving at their father's house. We know that Chad Franke and the rest of the family get together on Sundays at their dad's home, their family home. So hopefully things are going well for them now. Kevin seems to be a changed man now. If you watch the documentary, it's very evident that he now knows what these two did to his family. And he is going after Jodi Hildebrandt and her counseling license or whatever we want to call it, her life coach certification. And he's trying to get, laws around that. He's gone after her and suing her on behalf of his children. Anyway. Here we go more. December 18th, they put in their guilty pleas. So on December 18th, Ruby entered a guilty plea for 4 of her charges. So it was a plea deal. At the time, she stated, "With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, guilty," she said. Jodi would also plead guilty to 4 counts of second-degree felony aggravated child abuse as well. Now, they ended up dropping one of the charges, and I don't have my notes out here, but I believe it was... one of the charges that was, God, how was it worded? It was something to cause death. It was like child neglect to cause death or something along those lines. If anybody remembers what the name of the charge was, drop it in the comments. But it was the worst charge and it would have carried a much higher penalty. And that is why they dropped that one. Was it intention to kill with intent to cause death? Yes, I think that's what it said. With intention to cause death. Yeah. So I believe that is obviously what their lawyers had in mind to drop that to lessen the charges that they would be getting for a lesser sentence, right? Like that only makes sense. February 20th, the prison sentencing happened of 2024, just last February. This February. No, it's 2025. A year ago. Both women were sentenced to 4 consecutive 1 to 15-year sentences. This is confusing, so follow along here, which will be capped at the 30-year maximum in Utah. So each count that they received carried a sentence of between 1 to 15 years. And when they received it, they got the max, which is between 1 to 15 years. I know it's so confusing, you guys. But what happens is the parole board decides if it's 1 year or somewhere between all the way up to 15 years. Because they got sentenced to 4 consecutive counts, not concurrent, consecutive, so they were going to run separate. There is a loophole in Utah that caps it at 30 years. So technically they should be serving 60 years, up to 60 years. But in Utah, they say if you run consecutive sentences like that, they cap it at 30 years, which in Canada is a life sentence. So we will not know how much time they're serving. The parole board is who decides that. And the parole board can do a few things. When they go in front of the parole board next December of 2026, the parole board can tell them, you're going back to jail and we'll have another meeting like this in 2 years or something like that. They can tell them, we think that you've served enough time and we can release you, which I don't think is going to happen. There's a bunch of things that can happen, but the parole board is going to be the ones that decide that. So we're going to have to wait and find out what they say. Now, I believe the witnesses and the victims can speak at the parole board, and I'm sure Kevin Franke will be the first one in there to share his thoughts on this situation, as well as Sherry Franke, I think, will be in there speaking against her mother. That's just my guess. Okay, so the prison sentencing happened. Here's another picture of these two. On February 20th, Ruby apologizes. So this is the sentencing hearing that she had. If you have not watched this, go check out my Ruby Franke playlist because it's insane what she tried to say. And she didn't believe it at this time. And I don't know if she even still believes it or realizes what she did to those children, but it just seemed over the top. But this is what she said. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. So she blames it on Jodi Hildebrandt. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. To my babies, you are a part of me. I believe dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. And then she called them her little ducklings, and it was not good. It was over the top. I don't think she took ownership of it. I don't think she claimed or took ownership of everything she has done to those children before this woman came into her life and after that woman came into her life. She was doing awful things with and to her children on 8 Passengers and off the air of 8 Passengers before she met Jodi Hildebrandt. Jodi Hildebrandt just basically accelerated what was happening. March 25th, Ruby's diary was found and revealed. Ruby's journal, her diary, was horrific. That woman recorded almost everything she did to those poor children, and reading through that was awful. Now, I do have that on my YouTube channel. If you have not heard her journal yet, my YouTube channel is my name on here, The Recap with Julie, or you can just click my name, and in my profile, there is a link to my YouTube channel. You can just go there. But I read all of Ruby Franke's journals, and it's graphic and horrific if you have not heard it yet. So prosecutors released her chilling journal entries in which she wrote about her mistreatment of her children, including her satanic son. This is what one of the entries. He slithers and sneaks around looking for opportunities when no one is watching, and then he scurries. Now, this journal entry was from July 10th of 2023, which was her son's 12th birthday. She wrote this on his birthday. If he wants to emulate the Savior, he needs to be 100% obedient with exactness, no wavering, no hiding. She wrote about punishing her children by beating them and withholding food and water. Now, some of the things that she was making her children do at this point was stand outside in the insane Utah heat. It was like 100 or more degrees. She would make them garden while not having any sunscreen on and not being allowed to drink water. She would make them pull weeds and things like that barefoot. She would make them just stand outside for hours on end. Neighbors witnessed seeing them out gardening in this crazy heat. She would make them stay outside all night, sleep outside at night. If they moved or drank from the hose, they would be punished. She would make them carry boxes of books, like loads of books, up and down stairs as punishment. Anything she could do that was physical, she would make them do. She would take them out to the desert, make them run on this gravel dirt road in their bare feet. At one point, this woman either pushed or threw or did something with the youngest little girl into a cactus bush. Like it was horrendous. She shoved her son's face into toilet water, like held his head in a pool. Like if you want to go listen to the journals, they're on my YouTube channel and I read the whole thing. It's awful though, guys, awful. On March 25th, Kevin's interview with authorities becomes public. Prosecutors released the audio footage of Kevin talking with investigators after Ruby was arrested, in which he spoke about the alleged restrictions he faced in their house. So this is what he said. There were all these rules now placed on me, like I can't leave when I want, but I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. I couldn't come into the kitchen to eat until Ruby gave me permission, and the upstairs where Jody was completely offline. I couldn't go upstairs anymore in my own house, and Ruby would dictate all of the terms of how our interactions would be, when we would talk, and that was hard. Now, this is the end of the timeline on this. I don't know why they ended it like that, because there's so much more, but we can still share it because, you know, it's all in here. Now, what he's talking about with that is at one point, when Kevin was still in the family home, this nut job, I'm going to call her, was trying to tell people she was possessed by a demon, by the devil. And she was having all these issues at her family home. So Ruby and Kevin went there to try and help. And then it went into the idea of Ruby's head that she should take Jody Hildebrandt back to her own family home. So Sherry was going to be leaving the university. So she kicks Sherry out of her own bedroom and she gives the bedroom to Jody Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt has all these moments where she's being, you know, taken over by these demons and having these demonic moments and seizures and all these weird things. And Kevin believes it. I don't know if he still does, but I believe he does believe this. Unfortunately, in the Mormon religion, it's believed that you can be taken over by the devil and that God can speak through you. And they believe this. So Kevin apparently believed this. At some point in this time span, Ruby leaves her husband's bed and moves into Jody's bed. So they end up staying in the same room. Ruby says it's to protect Jody, that she has to stay there because Jody is possessed now. Sherry in her book talks about the fact that she believes, I don't know if I want to say she believes, but there are signs that they were together, like having a relationship and not just a business one. Now, they've, of course, denied this, and they have been on record saying horrible things about and not believing that it's okay to be gay. So for them to have this relationship, that would have been really bad if that had come out for them, right? So deny is, of course, what they're going to do. So eventually, Jody convinces Ruby to kick Kevin out of the family home. So now it's just Jody and Ruby living there with these 4 young children, these 4 minors. Sherry contacted police. The neighbors were calling Sherry to keep her updated on what was going on. She was calling Child Protective Services. Nothing was being done for them. There just wasn't enough evidence and things like that. And then Ruby ends up moving to Jody's home and they start doing the podcast from the basement. And then her arrest happens. So there has been a ton of things like that that have gone on. Now, I'm pleased to say it sounds like the children are in good places now. The 4 youngest are with their father, but they're in their family home. They have 2 dogs and 1 cat? 1 cat, I believe. Ren and Stimpy are their dogs. Chad has a girlfriend for over a year now, I believe it has been, with Cam. And he was living with roommates. He has now gotten his own apartment because he wants to get a mortgage and he needs to have on file that he's been able to keep up an apartment for a certain length of time. So he's moved into an apartment for 6 months with one of his buddies. Sherry has written her book. She's also gotten about to get a law passed in Utah that protects children from their family's family vlogging. So I can't remember all the stipulations for that, but basically the child at 18 is allowed to have permission to wipe all of the content from the internet of them when they were a child. I mean, once on the internet, it's always on the internet, but they have that power. They're also being required to pay a salary to their children. I can't remember what the amount is, but yes, they're being required to now compensate their children for their work. She gave her children nothing. They ended up with nothing from what they did and went through with their mother with the YouTube channel. If you have not watched their documentary yet, I highly recommend you go watch it. It is very good, very informative. It clears up a lot of misconceptions. It's 3 parts. Here in Canada, it's on Disney Plus, but it's on Hulu if you're in the States, and Disney Plus. And it was very good. Now, I took notes on all 3 episodes, and I'm going to do some videos over the next couple days, updating on all 3 episodes of things that were revealed in case you can't watch the episodes. So you can follow me for more of that. I will be putting it on my YouTube channel as well, but I'm going to come to your comments right now because I haven't gotten to talk to you guys. Ruby's diary is wild. It's awful. Her journal is so disturbing. Like, it's awful what she did. Guys, thank you for all the follows. Hi, Natalie. Adam, thank you. I really enjoy your... Thank you so much, Kate. Guys, thank you so much for following, and thank you for listening in. Don't forget to click the gray heart at the top, guys. If you haven't yet today, join my team because it gives you a badge by your name to show that you come to my lives, so I know. What is it called? It is called the... Hold on. The Fall of Ruby Franke. Is that the whole name, guys? The Fall of Ruby Franke? Drop it in the comments. I think there's another part to it. Oh, the devil something. That's right. The Devil in the Family. That's it. Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke. Thank you, guys. I knew you'd remember. Devil in the Family. Yeah, The Fall of Ruby Franke. And it's very good. Oh, thank you, guys. Ryan, thank you. What's your opinion on Kevin? I am torn. I completely blamed Kevin when this all went down. I thought he was just a deadbeat dad, useless, that he did not protect his children. I have a little bit of a different opinion now. I think he was brainwashed just the same way everybody was that was involved with Jodi Hildebrandt. I think he thought he was doing what was best for his family, but I also think he was doing what was best for his marriage with Ruby, not so much his children. He wanted to keep his marriage together, so he was doing whatever she said, and that wasn't what was best for his children, and he should have known that. A lot of things went on before Kevin left on the 8 Passengers channel and behind the scenes where it was evident Ruby Franke was not a good mother, and he still chose to leave for a year and leave those children. So I have a tough time with that, but I do believe he was brainwashed. I do believe it's the best place for his children right now. I do think he has changed and realized what's going on. Hopefully it stays that way and he stays away from Ruby Franke, but we'll have to wait and see. I do know Sherry and Chad are very involved in their lives as well, and Sherry has a good head on her shoulders. Chad has a good head on his shoulders now, so I don't think they're going to let anything happen to their siblings. So he still said he would stick by her. He's the wrong way. He did at first, Ashley. He's changed that now. He says he wants nothing to do with her. He says he still loves her, but he's done with it. Why does Sherry call them by her real name? In my opinion, it's disrespect. I think it's exactly what they deserve. They didn't earn mom and dad titles from her, so she calls them Ruby and Kevin. She also calls another couple mom and dad. Another couple that she befriended and became extremely close to while in university basically adopted her and took her into their home and protected her and loved her. And she refers to them as mom and dad now. Where are the youngest children? They are now in the family home with Kevin. Ruby using cayenne pepper and honey on the wounds is crazy to me. I agree. I think they should publish her journals from Jodi's time and give all the money to the 2 younger children. Tracy, I hope they got money from that documentary that they did as well for the kids, but we'll have to wait and see. Didn't one of the older children get married, or is that a different family? No, Sherry's engaged though. Sherry's engaged and Chad has been with his girlfriend for over a year. Are you her sister? No, no relation. No. Do I look like Ruby Franke? Where can you read the diary? I read the journal on my YouTube channel. If you want to go to my YouTube channel, it's the Recap with Julie. You can also click my name, and the link to my YouTube channel is in my bio. I read her journals, all the journals that were released. I went through and read them all. It's a bit long, but it tells exactly what they did to those poor children in there. It's awful. Why was the dad not held responsible? So frustrating. He was gone for a year. So he legit would not have known what was going on at Jodi Hildebrandt's home, but he certainly was there for all the other things, like sending Chad to a wilderness camp, all of the horrible situations that we were all freaking out about on 8 Passengers, like withholding Christmas from her 2 youngest children. Like there was just horrible things. He was there for all of that, but technically we think it's child abuse, but it's not legally child abuse. So he's not being held responsible for any of that. Have you seen Chad's TikToks? Yes, Chad is doing a lot on TikTok. He's on Snapchat. If you guys want to follow Chad, go to Snapchat. That's where he posts. He didn't want to do YouTube. He does a little bit on Instagram once in a while, a little bit on TikTok once in a while, but he shares everything in his life, like tons of snaps a day on his Snapchat account. Sherry doesn't post much. Does Kevin still work at BYU? I'm not sure. I don't know if he's back at BYU or not. Jodi was crazy. I think her plan was to get all the members of the family out of the house. Absolutely was. Jodi has done this to numerous families, broken them up, gotten the husband out, claiming that he's addicted to, pornography and things like that. Just broken families, separated families. She's being sued in particular by some families because of that. She lost her license because of things like that. That was her goal. She does not like men, and she would try and break these families up. The kids should bring Ruby to court and take back that $85,000 and leave her with nothing. I agree. I hope they do sue their mother, but we'll have to wait and see. Has children been at foster care before? They were. Do you have a podcast? I don't. I keep meaning to try and create one. If anyone knows and sends me a message, I will definitely look into it, but I don't as of yet. I do have all of my lives and things like this on my YouTube channel if you want to go follow. Jodi is 100% a lesbian in denial. She totally could be, right? She totally could be. And she would have to deny it because the Mormon religion does not accept that. And all she's done is badmouth that. Yes, I would love that. It's believed that they had a relationship. Yeah, it is. The fact that the mother thought Chad was the reason Jodi was having weird seizure type. Yeah. Honestly. Sherry insinuates it in her book. She doesn't come right out and say that she thinks that. Well, no. She says she doesn't know 100%, but she's pretty sure there was something going on. She suspects that there was a relationship. I feel like Kevin was also in danger in different ways, probably terrified of her too. He worshiped the ground she walked on. Was there proof about a relationship? I'm just hopping in. Yes and no. So Sherry went into the room at one point. She said there was candles around. They had been sleeping in the same bed, things like that. So she believes they had a relationship. Have they been sentenced yet? If so, what did they get sentenced to? Yes, they were sentenced to between 4 and 30 years, and the parole board decides. Persian Canadian, thank you for sharing the live, darling. Thank you. Yeah, so we won't know until December of 2026 if they're going to be getting out or spending more time there. We won't know. Oh, hi, Kimmy. Sherry read emails between them. She did, and she didn't share what it was. She didn't feel it was appropriate for her to share the emails, but she read emails that made her think they were having a relationship. They only have to spend 1 year in prison? No, they've already been in there for a year. They are in prison. So they were arrested in August of 2023. They've been in jail and prison since then. and their parole hearing is in December of 2026. So it'll be 3 years, I believe, right? If I did the math correctly, when they go in front of the parole board for the first time. Why didn't Ruby's husband go to jail? For some of the vlogs there was Ruby doing weird things. I agree. He didn't go to prison though, because it wasn't technically child abuse. I believe it was, but legally in Utah, it is not. So he did not go to prison. It's neglect and terrible parenting, but he was not there for the actual physical abuse that Jody and Ruby put the two youngest children through. It's ridiculous that Jody is trying to get out early. The whole point is not wanting to be there. So that's another kind of weird update. So the last couple weeks, Jody Hildebrandt, who pled guilty, took a plea deal, has now come forward and claimed that she didn't understand what she was pleading guilty to, that she didn't understand what was happening, and she's blaming her lawyer. And she's trying to get out of prison early. And Nadia, I don't even think she's trying to get out of prison early. I think she knows that she's not going to get paroled and they're going to try and throw the book at her. And I think she's trying to change that. I think she just wants out and she's doing anything she can. Her lawyer's not going to put up with it. Her lawyer's going to throw her under the bus. You watch. Where are you from? I'm from the East Coast of Canada in New Brunswick. His body language in the videos tells me that he wasn't very happy about everything happening. Yeah. I'd like to talk about Ruby Franke and Lori Vallow's similarities. Huge similarities. I believe if Ruby Franke's son had not escaped, we would have been dealing with the same situation that Lori Vallow did to her two youngest children. So Lori Vallow murdered her and her husband and her brother, killed her two children. Her daughter, who was 16, Tylee, and JJ, who was... How old was JJ, guys? 6, 8? He was just young. And I think the same thing would have happened to her two children. Was he 9? What did they do while the kids were in the closet and apart? So she was separating the children. If you go listen to my journal go listen to me reading her journal on my YouTube channel. It talks about how they separated the children so that they could, like, when the youngest was in the home, she wasn't seeing her brother. He said he hadn't seen his youngest sister in like months, and they were in the same home. So he was being kept outside, having to sleep outside, and she was in a closet, or he would be in the safe room or whatever downstairs locked up, and she would be somewhere else, like tied up beside Ruby's bed. So they were kept separate, and they weren't able to see each other. Like, it was awful. He was 7 when he passed. I Googled it. Thank you, Lindsay. From Nova Scotia. Thank you, darling. Fellow Maritimer. Any info on Jody's past or childhood that made her the way she is? There's a lot of stuff that comes out about Jody Hildebrandt. I don't know what all is factual and not factual. I have heard that her children do not speak to her. They have basically disowned her, that she has no contact with her family. They all think she's nuts. Her niece, Jessie, did come out and say that they were abused as well in the same manner, and they have shared their whole story, and it's extremely interesting what they went through because it's exactly what it sounds like she was doing to her children. Hi, Ben. Do you know anything about the Seagull accusations Ruby was implying about? Oh, are you saying the essay stuff that she was saying? We don't know what came of that, but I'm assuming the judge and the detectives looked into that and realized she was full of it, because we haven't heard anything about that since. So many use religions to be horrible people to, yeah. There's been so many people on TikTok releasing that they or their family's therapist was Jody. I've seen a few. I have also watched the other day a young woman who claims that she was in jail at the same time as these two. And she has some kind of interesting tales about it, I guess I'll say. I keep meaning to do a report on it, but things just got kind of crazy the last few months with me, with work and stuff. But basically what she was saying was that Jody Hildebrandt was a complete weirdo, didn't really talk to anyone, like just odd. And Ruby Franke was similar. Like she said, Ruby, what did she say? That she read all the time or wrote all the time? I can't remember. I don't want to say because I can't quite remember, but I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But I'll try and do a post about it because it was kind of interesting. Do you think you can get you can get the girl who was in prison with them on a live with you? Oh, Alexa, that's a good idea too. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll reach out to her and see if she wants to go live sometime and share. That's a good idea. She said Ruby cried a lot. Yes, she did. I forgot about that as well, that she just cried all the time. And they were good at isolating themselves. Yes. Yeah, I'll reach out and I'll see if she wants to do a live sometime. How long will she be in prison? They're going to be in there for who knows how long. The parole board will decide in December of 2026. Convinced Ruby and Jody would absolutely have ended with death. I completely agree as well. Yeah, I completely agree as well. Will you repost your... Yes. Guys, if you're just joining, I will upload this live tonight on my YouTube channel so you can go watch it. Just make sure you follow my YouTube channel because I try and put my lives on there. They should never be allowed out of prison. I kind of agree. I think they need to be there for a good amount of time. They're just messed up. I think they meant the live with the TikTok creator. Oh, yes. I would definitely post that as well. Yes, I usually try and upload all of my lives on my YouTube channel when I'm finished. So this live will be up later tonight or tomorrow morning. Why only the youngest two and not the other siblings? I always felt like Ruby mistreated the two youngest children the most. She treated them all poorly, but I feel like she went after the two youngest more. She just, I don't know what it was. If it was because they were younger and she had no more patience, I don't know. I hope they know that they did and don't do that once they get out. I hope they know, what they did and don't do that once they get out. Yes, I agree. Could they be both in the closet? Oh, yeah, they totally could. They totally could. Where are the children now? The 4 youngest children are now in custody of the father, Kevin Franke, in the family home. Did the kids not go to school and say anything? They didn't. So she was homeschooling the 2 youngest and letting the 14 and 16-year-old go to school still. But she took the 2 youngest out of school and claimed she was homeschooling them, which she wasn't because she'd leave them for 5 days at a time. Taking football away from Chad and sleeping on the beanbag for 6 months was horrible. Absolutely. She was nasty to her children. Just nasty. Are they in solitary confinement? I believe they were at times, but no, it does not sound like they are. I don't know if they're in general pop now. And I don't know how we'd find out, I guess. They used to post where they were and they stopped. And I'm assuming because of this situation, but they don't anymore. How does a mom do this to her own children? I know. Who was the 14 and 16-year-old staying with? They were in protective custody. They were in protective custody? Child Protective Services. They were with Child Protective Services. MB, thank you for joining my team. Did you... Oh, hold on. I got to turn off invites here, guys. There we go. Did you see the photo of Ruby recently? Is it the one where she's sitting on the floor doing, I think, yoga or something? Was it that one, Luce? I wonder if the kids are behind other kids their age because of how isolated they were. Good question. Hopefully not. Oh, Natalie, thank you. That's so nice to hear. Thank you, darling. Do you think the dad should be held legally accountable as well? I did think that. It's changed for me a little bit. I do believe that it's the best place for those young children to be. And I do believe that he was also brainwashed by Ruby and Jody. Do you know if Ruby and Jody are getting more than 4 years in jail? We won't know until December of 2026. Are they in the same prison? Yes. Any updates on Jody? Oh, and hold on, bringing her case back to court. No, there's been no updates since it was announced. It'll be interesting to see what comes from that. I thought it was weird how they got mad they couldn't have a jail cell together. Is Kevin teaching them, or are they possibly going to public school? That's a good question. I know other people were asking that as well. I don't know if they're being homeschooled right now or if they're back in school. That's a good question. Thanks, Invisible. The other TikTok creator who claims she was in prison with them, Jody and Ruby, are in the same cell. They're not, she didn't say they were in the same cell. I believe she said in the same prison and they were in the same unit at one point or something like that. Didn't Ruby turn on Jody? Apparently she did. But do we believe that? I don't know. You can't be housed with a co-defendant. That would make sense. They may have had private tutors, at least at the beginning, because of the trauma. And I think that's maybe what happened, because I can't imagine them going to school and dealing with like the publicity and stuff. Like it would just be crazy. I don't know. I remember when I was young, they sent Chad to a wilderness camp. Did they talk about that on the documentary? Not too much. I don't even remember if it was mentioned at all, but Chad talks about it all the time. Anastasia, he talks about going to that wilderness camp. He posted the other day at the dentist with his girlfriend, and he commented that, now I can't remember the number. I think he said he had like 11 or 13 cavities or something crazy like that. And he said it was from his time at Anastasia because they didn't brush their teeth literally the whole time they were there. What happened to the Middles? They are all home with Kevin now, living in the family home. I remember that's when I stopped watching them. So scary. I think a lot of people stopped at that time. Does Ruby have family visitors? Excuse me. Not her immediate family. I don't know if her sisters or her parents have anything to do with her or not. Bonnie, her sister, announced a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Christy. Hi, darling. Thank you. That was pretty, you guys. Announced that the Franke it's not Kevin's dad. Ruby, Bonnie, Ellie, Julie, Bo, their dad has cancer, prostate cancer, stage 4 prostate cancer. So whether or not they have any dealings with Ruby and visit her in prison, I don't know. My guess is they probably write her letters. They had told Ruby that the mom had mouthed that she, like, I love you to Ruby during her sentencing. And her sister was there and her brother and sister-in-law smiling at Ruby, like trying to show some support for her. So I don't know what kind of connection or contact they have with them now, but I would guess they probably have some. I don't think Bonnie does. It sounds like Bonnie wants nothing to do with her. And as for Ellie and Julie, I don't know. I know that Chad says he's extremely close with Ellie. Sherry in her book said at one point she was close with Julie, but it does not sound like they are anymore. And it does not sound like they're close with Bonnie at all. In fact, the opposite. Could we listen to any recent phone calls? There has been, to my knowledge, no recent phone calls released, but I do have the phone calls that have been released saved. You can check my folder, my Ruby Franke folder playlist, and it's all in there. Who's Ellie? Isn't the other middle Abby? No. Abby is one of the daughters, one of the children. Ellie is a sister. Julie is a sister. Bonnie is a sister. And Bo is the brother of Ruby Franke. They're adults. Did the dad get questioned because he was at the house too, so he would have to see some signs? Talia, he wasn't in the home for 13 months, so he was questioned, but he didn't know anything for those 13 months that he wasn't there. Why doesn't Sherry like Kevin? She does now. So I'm not sure when exactly it happened, but it was during the custody trial. Sherry, Chad, and Kevin reconnected and were going to court together. So they are a family again and have reconnected. Was the wilderness camp like troubled teen industry? Yep, it was. So gross that Bonnie's trying to make money off Sherry's book. I know. So not to be just mentioned about Bonnie making money off of Sherry's book. What Bonnie ended up doing is she posted a video talking about Sherry's new book and saying that people should go buy it and things, acting like it was, a special, kind post or whatever you want to call it. But what ended up happening is she linked Sherry's book in the post with an Amazon affiliate link, which means if you bought your book through Bonnie's link, Bonnie got money from it. I wonder if Bonnie did that so she could give the money earned to the kids. No, she has not given those kids anything. They don't even speak with her. When she posted that, somebody commented to Chad about it on his Snapchat, and he actually commented, and they said, did you see that did you see that Bonnie's making money off Sherry's book? And he wrote back, we did see it, disgusting, or something like that. Like they have nothing to do with Bonnie. I'm just going to take that down, guys. Do you think the kids will testify if Jody goes to court? I hope that wouldn't hurt mental health. I think so. I think the older kids will for sure. That would be my guess. Does Sherry have her siblings or getting to see them? No, Sherry doesn't. Kevin does. Kevin has custody of all 4 of the younger siblings now. And Chad and Sherry, I believe, go over every Sunday. And they all spend Sunday dinner with their dad and all their siblings at their dad's house with all their pets, their cats and dogs. Bonnie always gives me the ick. I've heard that. Neve, I'll have to check that out. So if you have not followed me yet, guys, on my YouTube channel, please go give it a follow. I'm trying to post more on there, longer content, like my lives will be uploaded there. It's the recap with Julie, or you can just click my name and go to my bio and the link is right there. So make sure you hit follow because I will definitely be updating on this whenever anything comes out. I wonder where Dwight the dog is. Ruby gave Dwight away. We haven't had much detail about him, but Ruby gave him away. Kevin, however, does have 2 new dogs at the family home. They're Ren and Stimpy. They are the cutest dogs. He also has a cat. Chad has a cat, and Walter White, and Sherry has a cat, Muppet, as well. Bonnie is Ruby's sister. What is the latest update on Jody and Ruby? If you're just joining and you want the latest update, I'm going to upload this to my YouTube channel and you can go check that out later tonight or tomorrow morning. Do you think any of the kids other than Chad or Sherry will testify against her at any point? I don't think they're old enough, although Kevin did read a letter from 2 of his girls in court when he was fighting for the new law to be passed against Jody Hildebrandt. He read a letter from them. So that may happen again in trial, in the parole hearing. What's the video of the diaries called? I believe it's just called Reading Ruby Franke's Journals, or Ruby Franke's Journals, I think is what it's called on my YouTube channel, guys. Were Ruby and Jody in a relationship? It sounds like it. It sounds like it. We want you to look into Piper Raquel. Never send me a message on here, a DM, so I remember to look into that. Make sure you go follow me on YouTube, guys, if you haven't. Have the best night. Take care, everybody.